It's almost absurd how long the American media has tried to resist saying it out loud. Jungkook is dominating their country. They've written endless think pieces about K-pop, cultural exchange, the globalization of music, and every academic phrase they could find to avoid the truth. But the reality is simple. Jungkook has taken over the very system that once refused to accept anyone who didn't fit its mold. And he did it not by conforming, but by making the system bend around him. The American industry has always been protective of its hierarchy. For decades, it revolved around a handful of rules. An artist must be local, English-speaking, and preferably molded through their traditional system from radio to record labels to award campaigns. But Jungkook entered that world like a silent revolution. No local debut, no gradual crossover, no American training arc. He just appeared, already global, already perfect, already inevitable. When 7 dropped, it didn't sound like an experiment or an import. It sounded like the future. It didn't matter if you came from New York, Los Angeles, or Seoul. It was the sound of dominance, effortless, clean, addictive. And yet, instead of acknowledging that dominance, American media tried to rationalize it. They said his success was because of fan mobilization. They said it was streaming inflation. They said, well, K-pop fans are organized. It's the same deflection used whenever someone they don't understand takes over their charts. But charts don't lie for this long. Jungkook didn't just trend for a week or two. He built a permanent residence at the top Billboard, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Music, the same platforms America invented, now ruled by someone they never planned to include. What the American media can't admit is that Jungkook has broken their formula. They built a system around narrative control, telling you who's the next big thing, who's hot right now, who the audience should love next, but Jungkook made them irrelevant. The people no longer wait for approval. They see him, they hear him, and they decide on their own. That's why every Jungkook release explodes without needing validation from Rolling Stone, Variety, or Billboard's editorials. He doesn't need their permission to exist. He just does, and his impact is undeniable. There's a strange discomfort in how American outlets cover him. They can't decide whether to treat him as an outsider or a superstar. Some write as if they're observing a foreign phenomenon. Others cautiously admit he's redefining pop. But you can feel the tension between admiration and disbelief. How can someone who doesn't play by their rules, who doesn't live in their media ecosystem, dominate so completely? The answer is that Jungkook doesn't compete with their stars. He replaces the idea of what a star even is. In America, celebrity is often manufactured. It's the result of marketing, scandals, and headlines designed to keep names relevant. Jungkook's version of fame is the opposite. He doesn't chase it. His fame comes from presence, precision, and silence. He rarely speaks, yet his influence echoes louder than any PR campaign. When he moves, entire algorithms shift. When he wears something, industries move inventory. When he appears at an airport, global news outlets rearrange their schedules. It's not manufactured fame, it's gravitational. That's something American media can't fully explain because it contradicts their understanding of how stardom works. They tried to make sense of it by calling him the face of K-pop. But that label already fails. Jungkook's dominance isn't about a genre anymore. He's not a representative, he's the phenomenon itself. American outlets keep insisting on compartmentalizing him. He's a great dancer. He's the most marketable BTS member. He's the gateway for new fans. But those descriptions sound outdated, almost primitive compared to what's actually happening. He's no longer part of a movement. He is the movement. It's ironic how the same media that once dismissed K-pop as a passing trend now studies Jungkook's every move to understand how he did it. But the truth is, they'll never fully understand, because Jungkook's success wasn't designed for their comprehension. It wasn't a calculated Western invasion. It was natural evolution, the global music scene adjusting to reality. The audience no longer cares about borders, and Jungkook is the proof. He didn't need America's gatekeepers to open the door. He built his own empire and made the gate irrelevant. What unsettles American journalists most is the idea that their own cultural center is no longer at the center. Jungkook's music, his visuals, his performances, they set trends faster than their system can report on them. He doesn't follow the promotional pattern they rely on. No overexposure, no gossip cycles, no pre-packaged scandals. His career moves are precise, minimal, and deadly effective. It's control disguised as calm. The American media isn't used to that. They're used to chaos being a career tool, but Jungkook's quiet destroys their noise. When Standing Next to You hit, critics scrambled to categorize it. Was it pop, R&B, retro funk? They couldn't decide. What they missed was that Jungkook doesn't play by their genre categories. He creates the reference point. He doesn't need to sound like The Weeknd or Justin Timberlake. He is the sound they'll try to imitate next year. That's what dominance looks like when imitation becomes the only defense left. It's not that American media hates Jungkook, it's that they don't know how to frame him. They've built their narrative models around predictability, and he's completely unpredictable. One week he's performing with effortless charm in a live show. The next, he's vanishing into silence, and both generate the same level of attention. Their tools can't measure him. Their metrics can't contain him. They're forced to write about him while pretending they still have authority over the conversation. But the truth is, they're following the audience, not leading it anymore. What's even more fascinating is how American artists themselves have started to notice. They watch how Jungkook commands attention without controversy, how his fanbase sustains interest without fatigue. They see that every move he makes is organic, that his dominance doesn't require provocation. In a world addicted to attention, he wins by restraint. That's power in its purest form. And it terrifies the media, because restraint is something they can't profit from. Jungkook's dominance in America isn't just about numbers. It's about narrative reversal. The West is used to exporting culture, not importing it. But now, American fans wait for a Korean artist's schedule as if it determines their own weekend. That's not globalization, that's a shift in cultural gravity. And it's happening in real time. The only reason American media hasn't fully said it is because admitting it means surrendering their last illusion of control. They can't explain why his brand endorsements sell faster than theirs. They can't explain why Calvin Klein's global campaigns rise exponentially when his face appears. They can't explain why streaming numbers for his English songs outperform artists who live and promote there full-time. So they choose the safer narrative. K-pop fans are powerful. But that explanation is lazy. Fans don't just appear out of nowhere. They follow greatness. And greatness isn't organized, it's magnetic. It's becoming increasingly clear that Jungkook doesn't need the US industry. The industry needs him. He represents the proof that music can transcend without translation. That global power isn't determined by geography anymore. American journalists might find that uncomfortable, but it's the truth they'll eventually have to print. Because dominance, no matter how quietly it arrives, is still dominance. And Jungkook's dominance is the kind that doesn't beg for recognition, it forces it. And maybe that's why they still hesitate. To admit Jungkook's reign is to admit their system's failure to predict the future. For decades, they've positioned themselves as cultural prophets, telling the world what's next. But Jungkook arrived not as the next big thing, he's already it. The world didn't wait for approval, it crowned him on its own. The US media is left catching up, still writing headlines that sound smaller than the story they're trying to describe. The truth is simple. Jungkook dominates America because he no longer needs it. His presence isn't validation. Seeking, it's defining. He's the artist who flipped the direction of cultural power without even saying he meant to. That's what they can't believe, that someone from outside could become the center not by force, but by being undeniable. The most ironic part? America actually benefits from Jungkook's presence more than it admits. His releases inject new life into their charts. His collaborations bring attention back to their streaming platforms. His impact keeps their media outlets relevant in global conversations. Yet they still cover him as if he's an outsider breaking in. The truth is reversed. Now America isn't the stage he's trying to enter. It's one of the many stages he already owns. And maybe that's the root of the disbelief. For the first time, America isn't setting the rhythm of pop culture, it's following it. Jungkook represents that shift. When he releases a song, the rest of the world reacts first, and then the US catches up. That's never happened before. American critics aren't used to responding, they're used to dictating. But with Jungkook, the direction of power has flipped. His music doesn't wait for them to define it. By the time they do, the public has already moved on to celebrating it. There's also a psychological element to this disbelief. The American media is built on control of narratives, control of validation, control of prestige. Jungkook doesn't need any of that. His validation comes from results. He doesn't beg for magazine covers, they chase him. He doesn't need award shows to confirm his worth. His audience already did. That lack of dependency unsettles the system. Because once artists realize they don't need approval to matter, the media loses its power entirely. What makes Jungkook so untouchable is his refusal to play the fame game. He's not interested in being the loudest or the most controversial. He's interested in being excellent. Every performance, every recording, every brand partnership, you can feel precision. He treats his career like a craft, not a spectacle. That's why he resonates so deeply. People are exhausted by artificiality. Jungkook represents the opposite. Authenticity, polished by discipline. He doesn't need to tell you he's the best. You can see it. That kind of quiet confidence is rare in American entertainment. In a system obsessed with noise, Jungkook's silence is revolutionary. When he walks into a room, he doesn't have to announce his arrival, the air changes. And that's the kind of power you can't engineer. You can't buy it with marketing. You can't fake it through exposure. It's earned through consistency, humility, and talent so undeniable that even critics can't look away. The American press will eventually have to catch up. But right now, they're still pretending it's a coincidence. They'll write about his streaming numbers and social media impact, but avoid saying the word domination. Maybe because it feels too final. To say Jungkook dominates America means admitting that America no longer dominates pop culture. It means admitting the world has changed, that success no longer needs to pass through their filters. That's a hard truth for them to print. But the people already know. They can see it every time a new Jungkook campaign drops and American brands scramble to copy the aesthetic. They see it every time his songs fill public spaces without official radio promotion. They see it every time international audiences sing in perfect Korean at US festivals. It's not theory anymore, it's reality. America is part of Jungkook's world now, not the other way around. And let's be honest, the media's disbelief isn't just cultural, it's personal. They've built their careers around predicting who matters next. But Jungkook didn't need prediction, he was inevitable. He represents the generation they didn't anticipate, one that doesn't need permission, doesn't need translation, and doesn't need to fit into someone else's box. That's why they hesitate to write about him honestly. Every word would confirm that their system of discovery has become obsolete. It's funny how they still call him a K-pop artist, as if the term could contain him. He's bigger than genre, bigger than region, bigger than categorization itself. Jungkook is what happens when talent transcends identity politics in music. His voice doesn't belong to one language or culture, it belongs to emotion itself. That's why he connects so deeply with American audiences, even when he's not trying to. The connection isn't built on lyrics, it's built on presence. You can feel him even when you don't understand every word. That's universality, something American pop once claimed to own but lost somewhere along the way. There's a silent fear in the industry now that Jungkook might be the blueprint of the future. Because if he is, it means the future of global pop isn't Western at all. It's decentralized, it's multilingual, it's borderless. And for a media system built on hierarchy, that's terrifying. They can't gatekeep what they can't define. They can't claim ownership over something that exists beyond ownership. Jungkook's rise isn't just an achievement, it's a warning. The age of centralized pop power is ending, and he's the proof. That's why, even in their praise, you can sense hesitation. They'll compliment his vocals, but avoid discussing his cultural dominance. They'll admire his visuals, but skip over his business influence. They'll analyze his marketing, but ignore his leadership. Because deep down, they know. The moment they say it plainly, Jungkook rules America, the illusion collapses. It means the empire no longer decides who becomes a global superstar. It means power has shifted permanently. And that shift doesn't just belong to Jungkook. It started because of him. His choices, calm, strategic, often understated, have rewritten the rulebook. He showed that mystery is stronger than noise. That grace can outlast gossip. That substance will always outshine hype. American media built its empire on hype. Jungkook built his legacy on proof. When you step back and look at the bigger picture, the story becomes clear. Jungkook isn't just dominating America, he's redefining what domination even means. It's not about controlling headlines or flooding feeds. It's about existing so powerfully that every headline and every feed eventually bends toward you. It's about being the constant in a culture addicted to change, and that's exactly what he's become, the constant. Jungkook doesn't chase trends. Trends orbit around him. Every brand, every artist, every outlet trying to stay relevant now measures themselves against his shadow. That's not fandom hype, that's cultural recalibration. And the longer the American media resists acknowledging it, the more irrelevant they become. Because dominance isn't a debate. It's a fact that time eventually makes undeniable.